Peoples of the worldwide federated internet. What's good? The hearts of men have definitely waxed cold. So I was watching this show that I subscribe to on YouTube. I highly admonish and recommend the show. It's called After Prison Show. Dope show. Dude that runs the show helps out a lot of people who've been to prison for long stints. He'll help them find jobs, different things of that nature. But he also interviews these people. They tell their story about prison. These things mean a lot to me personally because my older brother, for those of you who've heard me say, was in and out of prison. Pretty much, I'd say the majority of my young, probably from the time I was 9 or 10 till my late 20s. And now he's living a different lifestyle, doing different things, older now. But prison, what leads people to this? A lot of times we deal with surface level things, and we don't deal with the root cause. We like putting band-aids on situations. We like doing what I see a lot of people doing the medical professional field. And what they do is they deal with symptoms and they don't deal with the problem, thus never really solving the issue and just kicking the can down the road and dealing with a bigger issue later on. But let's get to that. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 4 and verse 23, the Bible says, "Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." Let's go to the Gospel of Mark, chapter 7 and verse 1. What's funny is, when I was reading the book of Proverbs, I didn't initially intend to go to the book of Mark. Actually, I wasn't intending on going to these verses at all. I just happened to be reading through the Gospel of Mark. And when I read this, I was like, man, that's really relevant to what I'm talking about. I'm going to read everything before and get down to it so we can kind of get a full context of what we're seeing here. Mark chapter 7, verse 1. "Then came together unto him the Pharisees and certain of the scribes, which came from Jerusalem. And when they saw some of his disciples eat bread with defiled, that is to say, with unwashen hands, they found fault. For the Pharisees and all the Jews, except they wash their hands oft, eat not, holding the tradition of the elders. And when they come from the market, except they wash, they eat not. And many other things there be, which they have received to hold, as the washing of cups and pots, brassen vessels and tables. Then the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, Why walk not thy disciples according to the tradition of the elders, but eat bread with unwashen hands? He answered and said unto them, Well hath Esaias prophesied of you hypocrites, as it is written, The people honoreth me not with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandment of men. For laying aside the commandment of God, ye hold the tradition of men, as the washing of pots and cups, and many other such like things ye do. And have said unto them, Full well ye reject the commandment of God, that ye may keep your own tradition. For Moses said, Honor thy father and thy mother. Whoso curseth father or mother, let him die the death. But ye say, if a man shall say to his father or mother, It is Corban, that is to say, a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, he shall be free. And ye suffer him no more to do aught for his father or his mother, making the word of God of none effect through your tradition, which ye have delivered, and many such like things do ye. And when he had called all the people unto him, he said unto them, Hearken unto me, every one of you, and understand. There is nothing from without a man that entereth in him can defile him. But the things which come out of him, those are they that defile the man. If any man have ears to hear, let him hear. And when he was entered into the house from the people, his disciples asked him concerning the parable. And he said unto them, Are ye so without understanding also? Do ye not perceive that whatsoever thing from without entereth into the man, it cannot defile him, because it entereth not into his heart, but into the belly, and goeth out into the draught, purging all meats. And he said, That which cometh out of a man, that defileth a man. For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornication, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile the man. Didn't intend to use that in what I was discussing today, but as I was reading through the Gospel of Mark, I was like, you know what? This is very fitting for what I'm discussing. I love hip hop music as a genre. I have since I was around, I want to say 5 or 6. I always struggle with remembering what the first hip hop songs I heard. I'm almost positive it was Dougie Fresh and the Get Fresh crew, and it was a tape that my older brother had. I would have been around 5 or 6 years old. I was around 1985, 86. I know I'm dating myself right now. I was enamored. I was drawn in. The words were witty. The stories were incredible. The first time I ever heard Slick Rick the Ruler, when I heard Children's Story, I was mind blown. Painted such a vivid picture. Now think about that. I was around, like I said, around 6. Most kids are introduced to music in general early on. In today's age, most kids are introduced to hip hop music very early on. Think about the content within this music. How would that affect a person? Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Keep that on your mind. When I was reading the Gospel of Mark chapter 7, when I got to these verses right here, verse 20, 21, and 22, this thought jumped. I mean, it's almost like these things jumped off the page at me as I was reading, because it made me think about hip hop music today and what is the meat and potatoes of this music today. And he said, That which cometh out of the man, that defileth the man. For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornication, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. I felt like he was going over the content points of most hip hop music today, because these are the content points. You can take that verse, get a beat, and start making your first trap song. How much of this can fill a person's heart and mind before it affects what they act out? Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Over the years, you hear a lot of hip hop artists, entertainers in general. I'm not a role model. Whether you want to be a role model or not. Now, parents should talk to their children. That goes without saying. Parents should have the biggest say in what their children consume, what their children take in. That goes without saying. But with that being said, how much of this stuff can you take in on a regular basis and not at some point bear these things out in your life? Are we surprised with what we hear in most hip hop songs? Cuz let's keep it real. Hip hop songs are the soundtrack of the streets. When I was growing up, it was songs like Cream. I grew up on the crime side, the New York Times side. Staying alive was no jive, had second hand. Mom bounced on old man, and then we moved to Shaolin Land. Y'all know what it is. Raekwon the Chef, Wu-Tang Clan. I'm not saying that music from my generation was perfect, because there was wholesale debauchery back then as well. There seemed to be a little bit more of a balance, my humble opinion. Yeah, we had ratchetness. No doubt there was ratchetness, but a person like Common could make songs that talk about something a little different and still be popping. Could that happen now? I'm not going to say it can't happen, because you have people like J. Cole, who I believe talks about some good stuff. There's some debauchery mingled in with his music as well. You got people like Kendrick Lamar, who definitely deal with some hard issues, and he's not necessarily glorifying that street life. He's from the streets, but that's not him. But how much of that music do you hear versus kill, steal, destroy, twerk, pop Molly, move bricks, kill this, kill that? If a person hears this from the time they're 7, 8, 9 years old, you don't even have to go far. You meet up with that same person at 13 years old. You don't think some of this stuff is going to be borne out in their life? When I see certain things, when I see people do certain things, and I'm not saying that, I'm not making this a blanket statement. I'm not saying that I'm not putting everything on hip hop, right? I'm not using that as a scapegoat, but I'm saying we can't sit idly by and act like this is not affecting people. Like I said, this is the soundtrack of the streets. This is what these kids are listening to, are digesting for years on end. How many young people get involved in these lifestyles without even knowing that the music they've been consuming their whole life is what fostered this ideology and this mentality that was born out in their life, which then in turn led them to a life of crime and led them to prison. We cannot sit idly by and turn a blind eye like this music is not affecting people. Me and my youngest son had a conversation a few months ago just about some things that was going on. And I asked him one simple question. I said, son, what are you listening to? My youngest son, as he always does, he was like, oh, he already knew. He knew where I was going with that. And even he can admit, he was like, yeah, I need to clean that up. Music is not just this arbitrary thing that you can just consume whatever you want and it doesn't affect you at all. That is not true. There's been studies on this. Psychologists have studied this. We know this. But yet this is a hot button issue that we never touch on when we see a lot of things going on in urban communities. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. You tell me what you consume on a day-to-day basis, music, media, literature, I can tell a lot about you. That has nothing to do with me being some super discerning dude or having some gift of discernment. It's just reality. What you consume is what is born out in your life. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Never been a street dude. I'm from the streets, never been a street dude. Not my MO. I've been a square my whole life. It's just who I am. That's my makeup. Some people are just made up a certain way. That's just how I'm made up. I had an eclectic palette when it came to my music taste. Yo, I'm keeping it real with you. I was listening to Ace of Base when it wasn't cool. I would listen to Illmatic from Nas. The next thing I'd be listening to was George Michael. Or some old, I liked a lot of the old barbershop quartet, doo-wop music. I listened to a lot of that. Found some stations in New York that played it and I would listen to that a lot. I had an eclectic palette musically, so I wasn't just listening to one thing. I often wonder how that affected me in a positive way because I was not consuming hip hop music 24/7 and nothing else. And I hate to rag on hip hop music. Not everything about hip hop music is bad, but we cannot front and act like we do not see what's going on. Like we do not see the images and the ideas that's pushed to our children. Think about all of the most popular women in hip hop. Most popular. I'm not talking about talented. I'm talking about most popular. Look at them and then think about most young girls in urban communities today. You don't think there's a correlation? Look at the most poppin' rappers right now, which it's, to me, you can't even really consider them rappers. They're something else. Some of them have no lyrical talent. Some of them do, just don't exercise it. They're making the money, so they don't care to exercise it. But think about the most poppin' male hip hop artists today. And then look at most males in urban communities. You don't think there's a correlation? Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. We got to stop turning a blind eye to this stuff. We have to stop acting like this is not happening. We have to stop sticking our heads in the sand like ostriches, like we don't see what's going on. We have non-stop violent indoctrination of young men and women. Violent and very over-sexualized indoctrination of young men and women 24/7. 24/7. And it's not the thing that maybe it's a grand conspiracy, maybe it's not. I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it isn't. But there is good music out there. There are artists that are talking about other things. Some of the artists I might not necessarily agree with, but they're talking about some good things, offering an alternative view. offering something else, how much of that is celebrated? How much of that is played at these radio stations? Is that on purpose? Maybe not a grand conspiracy by some men in some dark room, but definitely a grand conspiracy from that wicked one, the devil. Oh, yeah, you don't think he would love to corrupt the minds and hearts of young men and women? The earlier you can get them, the easier it is to get them. We need to deal with this. With all of this, abolish that, tear this down, tear that down. When we gonna hold some of these rappers accountable? Or we just gonna act like this not happening? Stay frosty, people.